Hey, what's up guys? My brother and I have been playing a lot of Skyrim Special Edition since it came out. We are loving the new graphical improvements. It was a great game before, it's even better now. And if you haven't played it yet, I don't know what's stopping you. Get the Special Edition and play it. You will love it. Now there's a lot of rumors floating around about the next Elder Scrolls game. Some people are saying it's going to be in Valenwood. Some people say it's going to be in Elsewhere. Some people are saying it's going to be in who knows where. But whatever it's going to be set in, there's a few changes that we would like to see implemented in the next Elder Scrolls game.
Alright, I'd like to start off with, this one's a bit unusual, but let's see if there's anyone out there who agrees with me. I would like to see sharks in the game. I'm talking not the skankfish or the slaughterfish. I'm talking real sharks or sea monsters or whales and some kind of sea life that's a little more compelling than slaughterfish. We've had slaughterfish for Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim. And it would be so nice to see something that would be a little more compelling that might make you not want to just jump in the water and swim. Because I've had several missions where I've come into the water and I've seen a couple of slaughterfish in the water and it's been like, well, I can swim around them, or if they bite me, no big deal. But what if there was a big shark that could bite you and pull you down and hold you under the water until you broke free? You know, of course, this would also, they'd have to implement underwater combat, which would be okay. You know, maybe you'd have to have a dagger equipped when you go in the water.
Sure.
I think this would add to the game because it would give you a little more fear of the water. I love the water in the game, and I love, you know, to explore some of the water areas, you know, and swim around and stuff, but there's just nothing, there's no fear under the water. There's no fear of anything when you're swimming, and to me that feels like a wasted content. That feels like wasted space where something that should exist doesn't.
So another thing, I would like to see some more racial diversity. Now, I'm not talking about the number of races, I'm talking about the actual difference between the races. So as it is in Skyrim, each race starts out with a bonus to certain skills, and they have their racial traits and their, you know, daily abilities, but those abilities for the most part are lackluster, can be replicated with spells or enchantments, and the stat bonuses all kind of even out towards the end game. So a Nord might start with a bonus to two-handed combat, but he ends up at 100 just like the Khajiit and everybody else. So what I'm saying is that a Nord should be a better barbarian than anybody else all the time.
Absolutely, totally agree with you on that one. Now, answer me this. In the middle of combat, okay, you're throwing fireball spells, you're ducking arrows, you know, you're on your guard, right? Why does the whole game pause when you decide it's time to loot a corpse or open a chest or pick a lock? Why does it pause everything when you want to do something that has to do with inventory? When you open up your own inventory to pull out a potion or something, everything freezes. This also gives you a sense of security in the game. Like, even if you're in a tough situation, you can get out of it because you can go and slurp down 20 different potions that'll give you all the buffs you need to turn around and just, you know, defeat your foe. It'd be a lot more compelling, and I gotta say it would give me a lot more. It'd make me prepare a lot more in advance for these upcoming encounters if I knew I didn't have a place to pause and have my own little safe space to reevaluate my current situation. It would be just so much more interesting and exciting to have to keep doing things on the fly, you know. And if you're downstairs and you're picking a lock on a chest, You're hoping the guard doesn't come back by and catch you doing that, or you're trying to loot the Jarl's wardrobe, and you don't want someone to come by and catch you doing that because you'd get busted. Plus, the pickpocket. Again, it freezes everything for that. What if they made a mini game for the pickpocket that's kind of like the mini game for the picking locks? It'd be kind of like Operation. Yeah, where you go in and you try to pull the thing out without buzzing the sides.
Add a little bit of player skill to it.
Absolutely.
One thing I would like to see is seasons in the game. Now, they have these different months of the year, and I'm sure that you could look it up online and figure out, okay, the Dundertoss is actually October, but I've never bothered to do that, and if you don't do that, you have no idea what time of year it is. And I think that's a missed opportunity. The game would be so much more immersive if they actually had visible seasons where you could see, as winter approaches, the snow creeps down the mountains and the trees lose their leaves and stuff like that. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be so cool to have all these encounters. Well, this is the rainy season, so you're not going to be casting a lot of fireballs outside. Things that would affect the player in a lot of ways could be, seasonal. I think that would be a great way to add more depth. I would like to see bigger cities in the game. Okay, they have some cities, and they're great, and the AI is great with the people. But even the biggest cities will have about 20 people, maybe a little more, not counting guards. I mean, individual NPCs. But that's hardly a city. Like the guy, the Jarl is what? He's in charge of 20, 30 people tops, including kids. I mean, sure, you're a Jarl, but you're a Jarl of nobody. It would be nice to take a look at the Hitman franchise. You know, when you walk into a crowded city street, there are people everywhere. Now, these people don't have to have the same AI paths that the people in Oblivion and Skyrim have. They could just have very simple paths, but flesh out the city with more people. Make it look a little bit more like a real city instead of a ghost town. Every city in Skyrim is like a ghost town.
Yeah, you don't need to be able to have an in-depth conversation with every random Joe on the street, you know? They all don't have to have their own name and backstory, although they could randomly generate that stuff if they wanted to.
Sure.
But, you know, we're all mature enough that we can just assume that these people have places to go and stuff to do, and I don't really care. I don't need to stalk somebody and watch them eat lunch every day, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, one thing that I would like to see, and I got the idea while I was playing Battlefield, is I would love to see easier tactical interaction with your followers. What I'm thinking of is the Como Rose, I believe they call it. And if you don't know what that is, basically wherever you're pointing, you hold down a key and then it brings up this little menu where you can issue commands to your squad. You can say, go there, or back me up, or attack that guy. And that kind of thing would be awesome in a Elder Scrolls game. As it is, you have to find your follower, open the conversation, click on the option, hey, I want you to do something, and then you gotta tell them what you want them to do, and then they go do it. And you can't even talk to them in the middle of a fight. So I feel like that's a missed opportunity there. Oh, and something that ties into that is I think they need to have fewer followers, but make them more interesting. Now that vampire chick in the Dawnguard DLC,
she was cool.
She was a good NPC follower. She was fleshed out, she had interesting, relevant things to say about what you were doing. But outside of that, all the followers are all just kind of copy-paste with slightly different skill sets that you don't even get to know about. And it really doesn't matter. You pick and choose. It really doesn't matter. So I'd like to see that changed.
Alright, how many times have you been walking in a dungeon and then accidentally triggered a trap, but then it goes off behind you because you're just walking too fast and you didn't stop and look down? You know, this happens to me all the time. More often than not, I find out that I triggered a trap because I've already gone past it and into the next room, and then it sprung. Most traps hit my AI companion or the enemy as they try to come and get me. it's kind of irritating because these traps. This is another missed opportunity. They could make them with a little more foresight or make them a little more meaningful. Like put the fear of death into you with them. Because sometimes if you're a weak enough character, yeah, they'll kill you. But for the most part, they're just a slap on the wrist at best. Have them like seal off a part of the dungeon that could give you a treasure. Have it be a serious consequence for springing the wrong trap, for not being careful. But seriously, better traps would be something they could easily implement. It wouldn't take any more resources than they already have. Just a little more planning and a little more testing.
So I would like to see them do something with alcohol, because all these games have some form of booze in them, usually several different types, and they always work as some kind of weak stamina potion. I'm pretty sure that's not how alcohol works. You drink a lot of booze, you get drunk. So why not do that in the next Elder Scrolls game? Let us get messed up. If you drink too much, you pass out. Maybe while you're drunk, you try and talk to people. It takes away your regular, conversation tree options and replaces them with stupid things you can say to put your foot in your mouth. That would be so much fun. That would give you a reason to actually go and get drunk. And along that same line, make skooma do something. Skooma should really mess up your world. It should make everybody look like monsters or something. I mean, they could really have fun with this. Instead, it's just another stamina potion. You don't even get addicted.
I know the Fallout series, they work addiction into the game, into some of the mechanics themselves, and they could easily port that over. And as it is, there are mods out there that you can download that will cover some of these things, especially the alcohol and alcoholism. I had to download a mod that made it so if you had too many drinks, you'd start to stagger and then fall over, and and that added to the game. It made it a lot more interesting.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of these changes that we're talking about, there are mods for Skyrim, and a lot of them we have tried out ourselves. But mods are never quite as good as a feature that's implemented in the real game.
Right.
We've both worked with lots of different mods over the years, and they kind of work, but sometimes they don't mesh with each other, and sometimes they have unexpected results, or they don't quite do it to the same polish that the developers would. It's much better if the developers would just do these things right the first time and not rely on the community to fix it.
There you go. Okay, so this is the one I'm thinking about that I haven't seen a mod for. Body hit detection, okay? What if, you're an archer and you hit someone in the head? That's a headshot, Maybe it should be an instant kill. As it is, I'm not detecting any difference between a headshot or a body shot or a foot shot even. It's pretty much the same.
There is no difference.
Yeah. And it would be kind of nice to be rewarded with a nice bonus if you hit them in the head. Or maybe if you're fighting them and you hit their arm, maybe it disarms them. It drops, they drop their sword or something. And, you don't need a special perk for that. It's just combat. Or if you get a good shot at the head, it cuts the head off. And you don't always need to pull them out of the game with a quick critical hit cutscene. Just leave them in the combat and have it just keep going.
So one thing that this series has needed for a long time is multiplayer. Now I know the Elder Scrolls Online has come out, but I don't want massively multiplayer in my Elder Scrolls. I just want multiplayer. I don't want to walk into the merchant and see a bunch of 12-year-olds jumping up and down on the table. That breaks immersion. However, if I could bring my friend into my game, let him play as my follower. He could possess Lydia and help you clear dungeons. There's nothing game-breaking about that. They wouldn't have to rebalance anything, and that would be totally awesome. So, at bare minimum, they should be able to just kind of hot join your game. What do they call that? Hot swap? Hot
seat.
Hot
Jump
seat,
in.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, but I'm thinking allow for up to 4 players multiplayer. More than that would get kind of crazy, but 4 sounds like a good number.
Yeah, and if they need to, they could even beef up the enemy. When you've got players on your side, they can scale up the enemy's difficulty rating.
Yeah, that's easy.
Sure, that'd be something easy to handle. I'm surprised they didn't implement that with this special edition of Skyrim. I was hoping it would be coming out. Okay, this is one that's a bit off the wall, but it got me thinking. Boats, okay? I'd like to see some boats.
That's my boat.
That's my boat, Jenny. Okay, where are the boats? You see, this is Skyrim's got tons of boats, but none of them are actually sailing. It would be really cool to have some vehicles in the game that move around. Boats would be one. This goes back also to the sea monsters. It'd be cool to have boats and sea monsters in the game. You could do so much more with that. Not just boats too, but you got wagon trains. You got all kinds of different things you could have in this game to show traffic instead of just bandits, animals, and guards. You could have other people who actually travel from city to city, and you see them traveling. That would be something that would flesh it out a little more. Give you more depth in this game. And then my final gripe. This one, maybe it feels a little more personal to me. When I played Oblivion, I contracted the vampire curse, and it was so hard because you couldn't travel in the daylight because you would die, and you couldn't talk to people in a city or get quests because they all hated you because you were a vampire. You couldn't do anything, and it was a pain. Now you got some perks because you're a vampire, but for the most part, it was just a big drawback that you were this unholy child of the night, And so I had to get rid of this vampirism. And luckily there was a way, but it was a long quest and it was really hard, but it was exciting. And when I finished it and I got rid of that vampire curse, man, I felt like I earned it. I felt like I really did something. I didn't get an achievement for it. I didn't get anything special. No one gave me a trophy, but I was human again. Now, the Dawnguard expansion pack in Skyrim, they nerfed the vampires, man. They made you sparkle in the sunlight.
Yeah, it's all pros and very, very, very little cons. It doesn't set you back at all. You can still do all your quests and talk to everybody. It's like totally optional if you want to let it bother you or not.
I know, like some of my stats are down a little bit in the sunlight, and I don't regenerate stamina in the sunlight. Yeah, that's bad. Or I step out of a dungeon into the light and it says, "Oh, your blood boils in the sun," and then it sizzles. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't do anything. And I'm standing in a town. I've got this hell demon at my, one of those vampire dogs that follow you around. Yeah. I got one of those next to me. I've got my vampire girl, and then I've got these bright red eyes that are glowing, and I look like I'm the son of Satan. And I'm standing there talking to this villager about how I can help them find their ring.
It's a nice day with you around.
Exactly. Come on.
I'll swallow your soul.
I know,
That's
right?
Nice. See you later.
Put the fear back in the vampire again. Make vampires great again, okay?
Yeah. Make them the evil, Trump.
That's right.
No more Twilight vampires.
No Twilight vampires, please.
I don't want my skin sparkling.
No kidding. Well, that's our list. Let us know in the comments below if you have something you'd like to see in the upcoming Elder Scrolls. And thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Later.